So in this new section, we're going to cover working with push notifications. Push notifications are going to be sent to both our Android and our iOS Xamarin Forms application. Now, originally, this was supposed to be integrated with App Center. As you may have been able to notice in previous lectures, push was actually one of the features of App Center. However, unfortunately, perhaps as of June 2020, the Microsoft team, the App Center team, decided to retire push as one of the features included inside of App Center so they can focus on the continuous integration and continuous delivery part of the product. But it doesn't matter because Microsoft has a very powerful cloud computing platform called Azure that actually includes one service that we're going to be using throughout this section that allows us to do exactly the same thing, to deliver push notifications to our applications. So we're going to start right here inside of azure.microsoft.com. You can actually just type azure.com and you will be directed to here as well. And Azure, for those of you who are not familiar with it, is Microsoft's cloud. Just as Amazon has its cloud and Google has its cloud, Microsoft has Microsoft Azure. And it contains a ton of services, like a lot of services for a lot of things. And you can start to inspect the type of services that you can expect, from those recently featured at the Build Developer Conference, to those focused on AI and machine learning, to compute, to containers, hybrid, Internet of Things. More than 200 products included inside of Microsoft Azure. But we're only going to be caring about one of them. So let's not spend a lot of time inspecting what we could achieve with Microsoft Azure because that is a lot. Let's just start creating our account. And you can actually create a free account. So in here, you will be able to just click Start Free or a free account over here to the top right and create a brand new Azure account, perhaps even with a Microsoft account that you may already have, an Outlook or a Hotmail or a live email account that you have. In case you don't have any, you can of course create a new one. Everything is free in here. You're just going to have to authenticate yourself, provide some information to Microsoft so you can create your Microsoft Azure account. And as soon as you create it, you're not only going to have 12 months of free access to popular free services, you will also have access to 25 services that are always free, and for 30 days, you're going to have $200 of credit for you to use throughout many different paid Azure services. So you can start to work with those services. We're going to take a closer look at this as we create the service that we're going to be using. But once you create your account, you're going to be able to navigate over to portal.azure.com and you're going to find something very similar to this. It is in here where we're going to be able to create all of the resources that we want, or the only resource that we're going to be using throughout this section. A little bit later in the course, we're going to be working with an additional service, a bot service, but for now, let's just focus on push notifications. So in here, you're going to find a create a resource button. You can also find the button over here. You could even go to all the resources and create a new resource from here, but let's just go ahead and click on create a resource and search in here for notifications. As we search for notification, you're going to find the Azure Notification Hub. This is the one that we want. So I'm going to select it and I am going to create a new instance of this service inside of my Azure account. The basic thing in here is that we have to select our subscription. You're probably only going to see one in here, especially if you are new to Azure. If you have more than one subscription, feel free to select the one that you want. And in here, we're going to be creating a new resource group. So this is going to help us group together many Azure resources so that it is easier to manage them all together. So let's go ahead and call this Finance Notifications, for example, click on OK. And now all of the resources, all of the services that are related to this finance application that we have been working with could be grouped together inside of this resource group, and it would be very easy for us to manage all of those services together. For now though, let's go ahead and enter a new namespace name. Let's call this Finance NH for Notification Hub, and finally the actual details for the Notification Hub itself. I will just call this Finance Notification Hub. Now, the location is actually very important. You normally want the location of any cloud service to be as close physically to most of your users as possible. So, for example, if you know that most of your users are throughout the entire US, you may select Central US, because that way both your users from the East Coast and the West Coast have access to the service at a relatively similar speed. For example, if you had all of your users in Australia, you definitely don't want to select Brazil as the location for your notification hub. So just keep that in mind when selecting the location. For myself, I'm my only user right now, but just because I am closer to the South Central US location, that is what I am going to select in here. And it is in here in the select pricing tier where you could take a closer look at how much the service costs. Of course, there is a free tier, as you can see in here, but you could always change this. The free tier is perfect for us to start working and testing with our application. But as we deliver the application to our users, we may need to scale this up. Notice that the free tier includes 1 million pushes to 500 active devices. So this is a very small amount of active devices. If you start to deliver the application through the store, perhaps you're definitely going to need more than this. So you may eventually need to jump over to the basic tier, which already allows for 200,000 active devices, maybe even eventually to the standard tier, which allows for up to 10 million active devices. But of course, for now, the free tier is going to be more than enough. Click and select. You're not even going to have to spend anything from those $200 of credit that you now have. And we can click on create. Optionally, you can go click on next and add some tags, but there's no need for any of that. So let's go ahead and create this. This is going to take just a few minutes. You can go ahead and take a look at the progress, but it shouldn't take long. First, for example, we see the namespace created in here. Then it is a service that is created inside of the namespace. And here it is. We can click and go to research once the deployment has succeeded. And it is in here where we're going to have to provide to the service some information that we're going to get in the next couple of lectures. If we're going to be working with Apple and Google, these couple of settings are the ones that interest us. If we were working with Windows Phone, which is pretty much dead right now, so I don't know why it is included in here, but there's a bunch of options in here. The ones that we are going to be interested in, of course, are Apple and Google. So notice that if we select Apple, we need some information in here for a certificate or a token, so we will have to get that information from somewhere. We're going to take a look at that in the next couple of lectures and paste it or add it right here into our new Notification Hub service. The same goes for the Google setting in here. In this case, all we need is an API key, but we will also have to go ahead and somehow get this information from somewhere. Where exactly will we be able to find that information? Well, that is something for the next couple of lectures. Starting the next lecture, let's go ahead and create or generate the API key for the Google service that we're going to need in here so our Android applications can receive those push notifications.